All right, I think everybody's starting to flow in, so welcome. My name is Mel, and I'm happy to be your MC today. I'm looking forward to emceeing this really amazing award ceremony that is just the beginning. This is the first time we're doing it, but there'll be more to come. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from our panelists today as well as our finalists. So with that, good evening, good morning. You know, everybody's in different time zones, so it's really exciting to be here. And I am excited about this award and this, this ceremony because I think women in mobility and tech is super, super important. Diversity of thought is critical to any form of business, and having forums like this where we can all get together and see how we can network and also learn more about what we're doing is really essential. So thank you so much to Sandra and the Move Me team for putting this together and for allowing me to be a part of it. With that said, I would love to introduce you to Sandra. I think some of the housekeeping stuff is mentioned in the chat, so you know if you're having any issues, who to reach out to. And with that, I would love to introduce Sandra to get us started.
Thank you, Mel. And also thank you for bringing your kind of energy and background to this event and being our MC. Quickly thanking everybody who is joining. And I know people are still trickling in to support these amazing female entrepreneurs today. Thank you to my fellow judges. We learn a bit more about them in a minute. And quite frankly, my biggest thank you is also to Venkatesh Gopal, who has shepherded us through this process without any flaws. But I actually was asked to tell you why. Why do we need an award dedicated to female entrepreneurs in shared mobility? Well, let me start with the statistics because they're all out of balance. Shared mobility is at the intersection of information technology and engineering, and about less than a third of the global workforce is female. Now, if you narrow that down and look at transportation, it decreases even more. We're talking about 22% of the workforce being female. And then at an executive level, we're really talking about 3% of women CEOs. So we obviously need to get these numbers closer to an equilibrium. But as many of you also know, this female leadership advocacy work is quite dear to my heart. So let me take you back to where it started for me. I used to work for Car2Go, part of Daimler's car sharing initiative, which used to operate in North American market, is not anymore. But I was responsible for launching the Canadian market. And so after about 4 years of doing that, I decided it was time for me to leave and start Move Me. And as you do, you know, we had drinks together with colleagues, goodbye drinks. And that night I so vividly remember it because I hadn't realized how out of whack the gender balance really is. Because a few of the younger women came up to me and said, you know, it's really a shame that you're leaving because there's nobody that looks like us at the executive table anymore. It was a bit of I'll be honest, it was a bit of a wake-up call because I hadn't even realized what position I had been in and what that meant for others. So fast forward 6 years, in 2020, Move Me had conducted, I think, over 100 interviews with female leaders in the space to kind of showcase, you know, the breadth of work women are doing, to amplify their voices and really show their expertise. Yet little really seemed to be changing in the real world. I've been involved in more than 60 projects, new mobility projects worldwide. And most of the systems still favor men. Solutions are still developed majorly by, you know, male engineering team. Decisions are made. Well, I think you're getting the gist of what I'm trying to say. So we put the question to ourselves, what else can we do? You know, is there anything else we can do? And so we decided it was time to, quite frankly, level up. If we wanted to balance or more balance, we had to showcase female entrepreneurs. We also needed to team up with others, you know, to boost our efforts. And so I'm so grateful that the judges joined this inaugural award, and that their organization supported this effort throughout the entire, I think, 4 months that we've been working on this. They'll introduce themselves in a minute, but without them, this program wouldn't be what it is. Personally, I also hope that this program is what Melinda Gates calls a moment of lift. She doesn't really talk about transportation, although moments of lift for me always kind of reminds me of a rocket ship just about to take off, but so hopefully that's what it is. She really talks about a small action that has a ripple effect and encourages others. So that's what my hope is. This program will kind of seed for others. So what exactly is the winner going to get? Well, we're awarding one female entrepreneur today, and you'll hear about the winner at the end, so stay with us. I know that's the exciting part. She will receive a 12-month pro bono mentoring package with MoveMe's team, but also access to the partners and the judges networks. And we'll make sure that they get presented with a lot of PR opportunities throughout the year to showcase their work. So, as Mel said, this is hopefully just the start of an initiative that inspires other women to get into the driver's seat and start shaping the future of transportation. Because quite frankly, I think all of us would benefit from it because we would have a more equitable, inclusive, and a more resilient transportation system. So with all of that said, I'm handing back to Mel.
Thank you for setting the stage for what the EmpowerWISM Awards will be. Moving forward, what this is going to look like is we're going to have a fireside chat with someone that I know very well and who has a tremendous background and experience in mobility, Jessica Robinson and others. And from there, we'll go right into the award ceremony. With that, I want to thank Sandra, and I want to introduce our judges. So the EmpowerWISM judge panel consists of Amy Ford, Jan Hoffer, Jessica Alba, Ruba Nanandi, Sandra Phillips, and Stephanie Mirdiaros. I'm so sorry, I pronounced your last name incorrectly, and I practiced because I have a very intense last name myself, and I apologize for any last name I messed up today. They had an extremely difficult task of taking the 14 submissions, selecting the top finalists, and bringing it to the top 3, and then selecting the winner. Thank you for all of your hard work and for your efforts on this. I know it was a couple months in the works, so we really appreciate it. With that said, we'd like to do an intro on our judges.
I'm so grateful for all of you to join us as judges to the 2021 Empower Women in Shareability program. The program is designed to support one female venture throughout 12 months and give that venture as many connections into our networks, boost what they're doing so they can grow over the next 12 months. But it really is a program to just showcase female entrepreneurs in the shared mobility space, a space that is at the intersection of technology, transportation engineering, and urban planning, all very male-dominant sectors. So the objective of this is really to just raise the profile of female leaders in the space.
Empowered Women in Shared Mobility is about taking women entrepreneurs and elevating them such that they not only can succeed in how they transform mobility for all of us, but really how they come together with the support and the necessary resources and the networks to make sure that that business is a success. It's about making sure that women have the capacity to excel and succeed in transportation. And in doing so, we're going to elevate the experience in transportation for all women.
Well, what drew me to the Empower Women in Sustainable Mobility program was the idea of bringing together female-founded or female-led companies and seeing the innovations they're developing. Before I joined Flow, I was a leader in a company based in Portugal, out of New York, and I was engaged in women's empowerment through a program called Chief in New York, where women CEOs and aspiring leaders were involved, and it focused on networking and skill sharing among female executives. This is super powerful and super important for women to find that place where they can learn and exchange ideas and network and increase their networking.
What I love about this program is the celebration of women, and women who are in a really vulnerable state of their careers, a very empowering state of their careers. They're ready to totally give back and create change for the better. Just the vision that Sandra and the team had in providing this safe space to grow and accelerate one woman's or this one vision over the next year. And it's something worth celebrating.
I'm really excited to be participating in the Empower Women in Shared Mobility program because now is the time for more female entrepreneurs to tackle tomorrow's transportation problems. And this program promotes, encourages, and supports the winning company to grow and increase its positive impact in the sustainable transportation industry. I myself would not have gotten to where I am today if it weren't for the mentors and support that I had throughout my career. And this program offers a great mentorship opportunity and access to knowledgeable experts who are really excited to help.
While there are enough initiatives and enthusiasm in the market for shared mobility, it still has the risk of ignoring the gender equitable approach. A program that is focusing on gender balance not only from the perspective of end user, but also ensuring female executives at C-suite level, I think, is a very unique proposition.
Empowering Women in Shared Mobility is a program that is really designed to elevate and showcase women entrepreneurs. What I like about it ultimately is the ability for us to come together, to band together, to network together, to showcase women entrepreneurs who are really making a difference in mobility. It's about showcasing these companies, showcasing the services they offer, but really ultimately driving women into an industry where we're wildly underrepresented and where actually changes that we can make in transportation can elevate the experience for all women in transportation. This is what Empower and Shared Mobility is about, and we're excited to have people be a part of it.
Well, I encourage any woman working in mobility to take a look at this program. You'll have the opportunity to see some of the best and brightest thinkers approaching mobility challenges, and you'll likely meet other leaders like you who want to make an impact on our planet.
Well, if you are in this phase of your career where you know what you want to do, you have a goal and a vision, and you've established a mission, and you have some funding, this program will just accelerate what you're already about to achieve. You will have opportunities to network with a fantastic group of people across the globe and just have a number of shoulders to lean on in times where you might be struggling or you might be celebrating.
My message to the women-led leaders in shared mobility is that stay committed to creating value and don't be afraid of the obstacles that come in your path. You're strong enough to face the journey and triumph.
I'm delighted to bring my experiences as a CEO and entrepreneur and a mentor to a new audience of women in technology and in sustainable mobility.
I'm really looking forward to work with the selected company, and good luck to all the participants.
Thank you, ladies, for all of your contribution to these awards and for your time and energy. I know as I was watching it, I was definitely nodding my head to a lot of the things that you were saying, and it definitely resonated for me, and I'm sure for others as well. With that, I would love to introduce and hand over to Venkatesh Gopal, who's going to do a program overview for today.
Thank you, Mel. Okay, first off, wow, what a program. What a lineup of experts. At first, when Sandra bounced this idea off us as a team, and it was nothing more than, like she said, a question. How can we help bring a difference to the whole world of empowering women in shared mobility? That was late summer, and here we are, the award ceremony. Before I delve into how we went about its story, let me be frank. I was, and I still am, a beginner in my journey of bringing sustainable mobility and transportation. And I feel fortunate to have learned for the past couple of years that gender equity is a key aspect in it. We realize that there's so much of need to be consistent in our efforts. As tiny as they might seem today, they hopefully will create the ripple effect and inspire others going forward. So about the program, we had 14 applicants. And wow, what diverse backgrounds. This wasn't by design, but we saw every aspect of shared mobility covered, from technology, mobility operators, consulting, EV infrastructure to training. Yes, we saw courses, we saw training as a service, bridging the gender gap in general in transportation. And wait for it, we saw training, self-defense training as a service for women, which is fantastic. Can you ever imagine? Important for MoveMe too was that we are involved in so many streams of shared mobility ourselves that we found that there are so many other streams that we still need to learn a lot from. And that was empowering for others. Our reach practically extended to 4 continents, and I'm so happy about the reach. That's the power of being connected today in the world of internet. We were able to reach out and help female-led emerging companies from around the world and encourage them to apply. The process, 90 days since the launch of the program intake. And it just seems like it was just today when we launched it on October 30th. We started screening applicants since then against eligibility, started easy, then entered into judges' assessments in January. And pretty much throughout the holidays, we were working in the background, exchanging notes, emails, feedbacks, evaluated through all the 14 applicants. And we went through 3 major categories. They were vision, leadership, and innovation. Innovation was a very key aspect in it. The difficult part was that we had to compare apples with goats. We looked at how these solutions supported equity in transportation. How do they help create sustainable, livable cities? What are the unique strengths? Are they scalable or not? What current need does it solve in the society, in the transportation, the whole gamut of transportation? How innovatively does it do so? Well, once all that was done, we gave each of the top 5 entries a chance to pitch face-to-face over a video call with all our judges in an interview and explain what impact their solution or their companies wishes to create through their ventures. We were all left speechless and blown away, I tell you, by the passion and drive that we saw during those interviews. And it pretty much changed the whole game. The whole experience was nothing short of enriching. And I know when I say this, all the judges will agree. That's all that is for now. And now, down to the winner, top 3. Let's see who's won. Over to you, Mel.
I think we're all very excited to see who the winner is, and we're in strong anticipation to hear. I know there's some really interesting companies here and women that are running it, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But first, we have a fireside chat with a very special guest. Be sure that you use the Q&A function below, and if there are any questions that you ask that don't get answered during the Q&A, we will be sure to follow up on them. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Jessica Robinson, co-founder and partner at Assembly Ventures, as well as Candice Yee, co-founder and CEO. Sorry, my screen is taking over. I can't see. Of VO. With that said, I'm handing it over to you, ladies.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mel. And yes, absolutely delightful to see so many new friends, familiar faces that have been part of bringing this program to life. As Mel mentioned, I'm Jessica Robinson. I'm an educator, entrepreneur, and investor in mobility. And one of the things, first of all, I will be bookmarking that judge's reel for those days that we all encounter where things get a little rough. But Jessica, your comments in particular, I loved. It reminded me of a discussion I just had with a friend who talked about the idea of a coiled spring. And I think, we're here today to celebrate success and progress, and that's kinetic energy. But I think there's something really special about the idea of a coiled spring, and it's that potential energy. And when it's small and it's compact like that, you might look like you're down or you're small and you don't really know where it's going, but that's the step that comes before the energy and the idea bursts forth. So thank you, Jessica, for sharing your wisdom in that image for me as I think about all of us who are on different stages of our professional journey, but for many of us here, our entrepreneurial journey as well. So I am really excited to have this conversation with you, Candace, because you stood out among the companies and founders that came into the WISM program, and would love for you to share a little bit more about who you are and what you're building at VO to kick things off.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. And thank you all for inviting me today. So my name is Candace. I'm the CEO for VO. VO is a Chicago-based micro-mobility company, and we provide scooter share, bike share service to cities across the nation. And I would say one of our goals is to convert in the future, like 50% of the trips in urban city to micromobility. And that's where we started. And we have been striving and committed to achieving our goal by building our foundation as for today.
That's great. Thanks so much. And as we had a chance to catch up before this session today, one of the things that I was really struck by in our conversation was that you identified with where many of the women who submitted their ideas to this program were at in their own journey. I think you said that was me only a couple of years ago. Can you talk more about how you made that pivot from the work that you were doing previously into stepping into the role, not just as a founder of a startup, but as the CEO? What was that like?
Of course. So prior to building VO, I am actually a financial analyst at Schneider Electric. I work in their North American FP&A team, learn a lot like on how financial can help to impact the business and vice versa. And in that time, I learned a lot and make a lot of good friends and understand how like different foundation of manufacturing can work. But I have always been thinking about, I want to build my own business. So, and I have a good friend, which is another co-founder of mine. We always exchange idea about business because he has engineering background, which typically our two ideas can spark because I offer the perspective from the business side. Mm-hmm. And in 2017, we discussed the idea about the bike share and find out that is the true needs in US and there is a unmet gap. And we map out all the resources we have and very naively think, oh, we can actually tackle everything. Why not? Let's build a company and see what we can do together. So like 2 months out, we created our full-time job and work in a university incubator and started our journey back in like 2017 summertime.
That's great. Yeah, it's always fascinating for me to hear how people made those transitions. I think there's very few of us that are born starting those businesses right from the very beginning. And I think increasingly in this industry, I'm starting to see entrepreneurs that have made that transition or have been around at previous companies before, and they're taking those lessons learned and applying them in new ways. Candace, the other thing that I was really struck by is, as you started your journey, you were sharing that well-intentioned people, I'm sure, but there's lots of advice and opinions for entrepreneurs and probably even more so for women founders about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how you should raise funding, what you should focus on. Do you have any maybe advice or just experience that you could share with this group as maybe some others are facing those same decisions?
Of course. So one interesting thing about the micro-mobility industry is that everyone has seen the hype in the last like 2 and 3 years. There are a lot of money get into this field, and we are seeing people raising large funding, and investors are telling what they need to do to get their result back. So I think there are a lot of conversation and excitement on how different entrepreneurs should do their business and how we should expand our business. But I think because it might be partially because who we are and where we are located, I think we are the antithesis of tech bro. we're not building our business based on purely like promising our investor the hockey stick, and we're not like boosting our valuation by accounting tricks. I think at the end of the day, we want to build a business successfully, which is also profitable, scalable, and responsible. So that has been in our mind from day one. And we have that in order to build like a great foundation for the business, build a vehicle which is safe, accessible for our riders, and build a like operation foundation which is efficient, and then we scale. So we always have that in mind from day one. And I think with the Midwest location, we are able to filter a lot of noises out and stay true to who we are.
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree more. There's certainly advantages to being here in the Midwest. I will point out that we do have the Q&A open. Please feel free if you have questions that you are thinking about for yourself, or you want to ask someone who, again, maybe is in similar situation to where you were a couple years ago, or vice versa. Please feel free to jump in the chat. We'll have a few minutes at the end. Use the Q&A, not the chat. Candace, the other thing is, I shared on LinkedIn this week as I was thinking about this discussion, is I called it the P word, and you kind of alluded to it, which is the money side of this business. And shared mobility is hard. I mean, I know it myself from years at Zipcar. Certainly when you have an asset, scooters are a little different than cars, but so much of how we've seen these companies grow is through, quick scale, quick deployment, a land grab, I think you called it. But you, again, different approach here, and it's had interesting results, right? Which from a financial perspective, can you talk about why that's important to you and your team, maybe what that enables you to do, and maybe some of the trade-offs, right? Because by taking that approach, you're making choices.
Of course. So I would say from day one, we are not the typical profile investor is interested in. Like, I'm an immigrant and we are young. This is our second job out and we have no prior experience. So fundraising from day one in 2017 is difficult. So that made us think how we are able to build something great sustainably without really relying on the external funding. So that's the reason why we actually start very small and try the one market out, make sure that specific market is profitable, and we scale. So in terms of today, we have 20 market and 40 market, and like 90% of our market are profitable, and we're able to actually achieve company-wide EBIT profitable last May, which is very amazing in like startup world and also in the micromobility world. So we are very proud of ourselves. I think there's a lot of trade-off inside, like how fast we need to grow versus how many money we need to locate in order to achieve profitability, and how much we should like go through the RFP bidding process to offer the city a good deal without suffering, like without making it an unsustainable program for the city. There are a lot of things to think of, but I think we map it out like very maturity. We have a very great team working together. Really appreciate everyone's efforts, but I think I'm grateful of where we are today. And I think it will be the same philosophy will scale and grow in the next 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm. That's great. There's a good question. There's a couple of good questions that came through Q&A. I want to ask you, Candace, this first one, which comes from Amy, who is one of the judges. She's curious about, and this is something, I face too. So Amy, thank you for asking this question. She's curious about balancing building the brand of the business, the building of the business itself, and then building, I think, your personal brand. And I think, early on, particularly as women founders too, we're often pushed forward to be, as a CEO, you have to be the voice of the company. But I think as women founders, we're often called forward even more. And that creates some opportunities. But again, this trade-off of building the business, building the brand of the business, and building the personal brand. So what has that been like for you?
So I can share my experience, which might not be the golden standard, just for a reference. So I'm a pretty low-key person, and I always love to focus on the business itself. So our strategy back then is that we want to make sure this is a viable, sustainable business and focus on the business itself. And the other thing will come forward naturally. So for example, when we have enough user base, we are like, when we have very robust like hardware and program, and then we're like expanding our footprint and focus on building on our brand. And right now we have pretty good reputation in the industry, and now is the time I feel like I should take more responsibility and just represent women and help people understand what I have been through, and maybe I can like help you guys not to get into like different, when you're sitting at the crossroad, maybe we can save some time for the taking the wrong routes. So I think I should be like standing out more and building my personal brand more and helping people who has been or is actually where I am like 3 years ago.
Yeah, Candace, I really appreciate that. As someone who has an opportunity to participate in lots of events, I actually am an introvert, and I don't think most people would know that about me. And it's one of those kind of personal things I've had to also, decide of how much time and energy do we spend there. And I think for me, I can tie it to business results. So at the end of the day, that's what makes it work. But I do think it's a very relevant question for all of us as women entrepreneurs. A related question in Q&A, there's a couple that kind of address this. And it's I think we have to again recognize we're virtual in part because of COVID. So kind of the two related questions are, what business challenges have you faced during COVID? What's changed? How do you think about the future? And then a related question is, on the personal side, how do you create any sense of balance while starting a company, growing a company, and then avoiding burnout, especially during COVID?
That's some great question. And I have been reflecting myself, looking back like 2020 in order to set out our goal for the future years. One new reality I realized is that COVID may not go away. And this remote Zoom meeting setup might be with us for many years. So one of the challenge we are facing is that how we're able to engage people more, like internally, and also understand our customer more externally, with a very safe and healthy guideline. Because I know a lot of my people, they're working in their cubicle in the last 10 months by themselves, and they're not able to go out. It's actually not very healthy. And a lot of our work is actually creative, because micromobility industry is still very young. We need to make sure we are innovating and provide creative solution while understand our users better. So how we are balance that out is something we have been working on and will be one of our focus this year. And in terms of the second question, how do I balance out work and also personal life? I would say I am very lucky that I have a lot of hobby that it needs a lot of attention. I'm a tennis player, so when I'm playing tennis, I just cannot think of my work or I will lose my point. So I will find those hobbies to get myself out of the business mode and enjoy myself and have a very fresh mind and come back to the business afterwards.
That's great. I love that sense of unplugging and also still trying to find a way to do something physical right now as well. I think that the WISM team is going to pull us off stage here in a minute, but I have one more question, which is something back to what you said earlier, Candace, and kind of working with cities as you roll out. It's certainly increasingly common for scooter sharing companies to need to do so. Sharon points this out in a really helpful Q&A. or Leanne does, excuse me, but I think that it applies to the broader shared mobility community as well. The role of cities and the public sector as startups arrive on the scene. Is there anything you want to say in that regard, maybe for other entrepreneurs that are thinking about working in this kind of public-private space?
Of course. So I would say micromobility and even mobility, the new mobility is still very young. There are a lot of things we need to do together with the city. And one of the challenge we have currently with micromobility is that the infrastructure is limited. So we want to provide the users accessible and safe program, but if without the protected bike lane, there's no people will be like out using micromobility. That's a challenge for us and potential limitation. So from our end, we are actually partnering with the city, try to figure out the best route forward, like to build out the different steps before we can get to the perfect future to enable everyone to enjoy the bike lane or safe infrastructure in every corner of the city. So I would say this business takes patience and also takes expertise. And also it will be very rewarding as well, because we are impacting millions of people's life and how they commute and how they enjoy like recreational trips as well.
That's amazing. Candace, thank you so much. Mel, we're going to have you jump back on screen here. And I think we're going to get to what we've all been waiting for here, which is we have some female women in shared mobility to celebrate. So I'll turn it back over to you, Candace. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica and Candace. That was a really great conversation. And I think what you're saying, Candace, is so important around infrastructure. I mean, we can have all these services, but if we don't have the proper infrastructure in place, it's going to be very difficult to implement for people to also use and feel safe doing it. So thank you so much for that. All right, so now it's time to do the top three, and I'm thrilled to announce the winners. So here we go. So top three finalists, all of which are amazing. The third place winner is Geotwin. And I would love someone from Geotwin to unmute themselves and come on and tell us a little bit about yourselves and also what this means to you.
Great, thank you very much. So dear jury members and dear Movni family, I'm very glad to be here today with you and my dear competitors, future customers and sisters. I'm very happy to get to know you and your company thanks to EmpowerWISM. And you are all inspiring women with a big contribution into the shared mobility, and thank you for that. So my name is Göknur. I'm the founding CEO of Geotwin. I have a computer science background. I have a PhD degree on complex system science. Geotwin is a science-based software as a service platform founded in 2019, and we are based in Paris and Singapore. And Geotwin's human-centered global intelligence platform uses artificial intelligence and human behavioral analysis. And we are tackling with most difficult city scale challenges, such as impact of the COVID health crisis on human behavior or city movement pattern, or analyzing and giving the insight on charging or bike station deployment strategy and their impact on accessibility and the carbon dioxide emissions. And I founded Geotwin with a clear conviction to make the decision-making enablers and accessible for every city's stakeholders. Because every day we make a decision and some of them will be a big impact on human lives. And imagine we make a decision, city scale decision on the regulation or investment, and its impact will be dramatic for the citizens' life. So this program clearly is a great help, I think, to help me to Geotwin's decision-making platform a worldwide standard, where the decision-making is no longer a year of efforts or expensive issues for the cities, and also help me to make Geotwin something big to have a positive impact on the city science and on human lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to you. Very impressive background, and it was good to hear from you.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything. All right, on to our second place winner. that goes to Baiko. Congratulations. And Monica, if you could unmute yourself and say a few words and also why you're excited about this, would be fantastic.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. My name is Monica Zarafo. I am the founder and managing director of an Australian company specialized in bike sharing and personal mobility, Baiko. My background is transport engineer with a master by research degree in sustainable transport. I was all my professional career involved with sustainable transport from freight, automated transit systems to personal mobility where I'm acting now. Baiko is a fully integrated vendor of station-based electric bike share equipment, but also we have experience as an operator of private and public bike share programs in Australia, and more recently, we developed our own proprietary software, allowing us to transition to the software as a service model. We also have internal capability to provide a full network planning and design expertise, and also integrated data management. We are 100% dedicated to the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, specifically sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, good health and well-being, and climate actions. We have here a fantastic theme. We have a good system, great bikes, and an innovative technology roadmap. And I'm really proud to be here today and talk about Baiko on this amazing initiatives. So I'm very excited to be part of a global network of women leading smart mobility, and I'm sure we all have a lot to learn from your success, your lessons in business, and together we can all tackle one of the biggest challenges I see in shared mobility transport, our global love for cars and finding the perfect car parking space. Thanks so much.
All right, now it's on to our winner, which is really exciting for me because I don't know if some of you know and some of you may not know, I have recently decided to leave Wonder and been having some really interesting conversations around new mobility and new companies that are coming into the space. And I actually had one yesterday where someone mentioned this company and said, you should really look into them. They're super interesting. And when I heard about them, I was like, wow, this is very smart and interesting, and I'd love to learn more. So I'm very excited to introduce our winner, which is One Charger Help, who's doing some very amazing things. And I would love to have Camille come off mute and tell us about her business and also why she's excited for this award. And I personally would like to connect with you later.
Thank you so much. Well, number one, I am forever grateful for spaces that honor people that aren't traditionally allowed into the clean tech space. So being surrounded by all of these amazing women just feels very empowering. So thank you to the folks that put this together. So at Charger Help, we are putting people and charging stations back together. I used to work for a software company that built software for EV charging stations. And I discovered that there truly wasn't a workforce that could solve the need of the massive infrastructure build out that is required, not only for the United States, but across the world. And so when a charging station goes down, that it shouldn't take 7 to 14 days to have someone dispatched on site. That should happen immediately. And even more so, we should be able to utilize technology to enable these local communities to have equitable paying jobs. And so that's what we've been able to build at Charger Help. I am so gracious for this opportunity. And I think more than anything, just honored that as an industry, we see, the importance of creating real jobs for people that may not currently be within our industry, but giving them the opportunity to partake. And so thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much, Camille, and congratulations to you and to all of the amazing stuff you're doing. From what I understand, it's really, really on point and super interesting. So Great stuff. I would love to have all of the winners come back and everyone actually to take their video and turn it on so we can take a winner's picture.
Congratulations, everyone. Just incredible companies.
Yeah, this has been inspiring, I think, for all of us as well.
Very.
Awesome.
Really excited about the companies you're building, ladies. Really, really good.
With that, we're at the end of our program, and I just wanted to thank some of the people that supported this, including our co-host Move Me, ABB, It's America, UITP, Go With Flow, and Intelligent Mobility Experience. This is just the beginning for our winner, and we're excited to see what is to come. There is a lot going on in 2021. I think we're all very hopeful and excited, and we're going to continue to have this award ceremony and other opportunities like this in 2022. I hope this was a really good way for more females in mobility to get to know each other and be in each other's lives. I think it's really critical. You know, Sandra is a very good friend of mine, and she's been really instrumental to me during my time at Wonder, and I know that she will be in anywhere else I go to, and I think it's so important to have women in your corner to support and grow in this space. So looking forward to connecting with all of you and seeing where we can support each other.